It's movie night, and we're back with another review. And this one is A Quiet Place. I'm gonna make this one short and sweet. Spoilers ahead, so if you have not seen the movie, I guarantee you will not want to watch this video and you want to go experience everything I'm gonna tell you in this video for yourself, preferably in theaters, because I think this movie works really well in theaters. So let's get right into it. This one stars Emily Blunt and John Krasinski. These guys are a couple in real life and actual reality, so they're husband and wife dynamic works really well in this film. Just to start off, the casting is amazing. John Krasinski, also star of the film, directed this film, and he does a great job. I am not a big horror movie fan, but I do like when you can cross into other things and get non-horror fans interested in going and paying money to go see a horror film, which this one does not quite feel exactly just straight horror. There are horror films that dive into science fiction, dive into other genres of filmmaking. This one blends drama, tragedy, science fiction, and horror all in the same realm of filmmaking, and I think it worked out really well. I was very skeptical when this movie came out. The first trailers came out and I was thinking this is another jump scare film based on a very weak premise of being silent and you can't talk, you can't do this. But when you start to think about it, if done right, the premise goes a long way. As far as a writer, you really have a lot of different things you can do, maybe too much and maybe too little. He finds the nice Goldilocks zone with this film of not having too much and too little. The too little of it is you don't get a whole lot of backstory about what's going on. They jump you right into the movie on day 89 of an event in a post-apocalyptic world where we're only in day 89 and they're still trying to figure out the rules and things that apply to surviving in this world. And like human beings, we all make mistakes, and there are some things in this movie where these characters, each and every one of them, make very human mistakes where you kind of scratch your head and be like, I don't know why they did that. And then you think, well, if I was in that situation, I might have done the same thing. And this is a movie that when you walk out, you're going to be debating it with whoever you saw it with. I recommend going to see it with someone as well, because it's definitely a movie where you're going to be tense and you're going to want to just take a breath and be like, did you see that? And what's going to happen next here? It has that pacing where each scene keeps pulling you further and further and deeper into the film, where I was tense. I was gripping my chair. I found myself kind of just very, very tense throughout the entire film. From the moment it comes on till it goes off. And it's not a very long film. They do exactly what they need to get into this film, into the story, and they get right out of it. There's no filler, there's no bullshit, there's no long exposition scenes. It's just a survival story with a family that you immediately get on board with. The kids are amazing. There's a girl in the film who plays a deaf girl. She's actually deaf in real life, which makes it better for the premise of the story, which is being quiet. And let's get into that aspect of it. The silent aspect of the movie is something that I was a little nervous about going into the movie thinking, are we going to get any dialogue? Are there going to be any sound effects? How is the music going to play in? Are they even going to have a score? Is this more like a found footage movie? How are they going to do it? Are the monsters going to actually work? Are they aliens? There are a lot of questions that when you walk into the theater and sit down and you start watching this film, once the film comes on, you realize immediately this movie is not about the monsters in the event. It's about this family. And that is why this movie is so good. It has nothing to do with the creatures. The creatures are amazing. We'll get to that in a moment. But the core of the story are the characters. The core of the story is a tragedy that has happened in this family and the world. And we see it through the eyes of this one family. The cast is perfect, and it has to be, because there's only 5 people in this movie on screen. If you count a couple other people that pop up in the film, you maybe get up to 8 if you count them. But for the most part, you're talking about 5 characters. And it is very, very hard to get children actors to work on. It can take you out of the story if children actors aren't on par with some of the the stars of the, you got Emily Blunt and John Krasinski in this film. You want to find actors and actresses that are going to be able to sit in scenes with them and not detract from the film. And they do a very good job with that. Again, when you have a deaf woman playing a deaf woman, that's going to help you in the long run with making characters be believable. And you believe everything that happens in this movie. There's some things that happen in this movie early on where, again, you're going to scratch your head and say, Would I have done that? And then when you talk to someone else might say, of course I would have done that. And you'll be like, no, I wouldn't have. And that's what makes this movie so good, because they go through the same process. What would you have done? Should I have done this? If we had done this, this wouldn't have happened. And that's what shapes the story. Let's talk about the monsters. The monsters going into it, I thought were going to be aliens. I thought they were going to be something where in other films you have the Center of Disease Control. Something happens, it gets out and it starts killing people, or you have an alien invasion and it's told through a family, kind of like Signs. Well, this movie reminded me of a little bit of Signs, 10 Cloverfield Lane, a little bit of Split in a way, which is strange, and a few other, and Stranger Things is another one, because the monster itself, there are some things of it that to me it looked like Venom and the Demogorgon from Stranger Things had a child. That's what these animals look like to me. I don't even know if they are animals. They could have been aliens, because again, there's no backstory in this. We are never told throughout the movie, and there are some things that makes this movie really, really work. As far as tragedy goes, there are things that happen that are just very normal, and there's some things that are abnormal. One of the things is, one of the worst case scenarios if you're in this world is that you don't want to bring any more children to this world, where Emily Blunt's character is pregnant in this movie. She actually gets pregnant. And these monsters' hearing is insanely good, obviously. They respond to noise very well. They can't see for shit, but they can hear very well. So everything they do in this movie, they walk barefoot. They use cloth for anything that's going to make any type of noise. Cloth has to be put in. There is no metal. There's nothing that can make a loud noise in any capacity. That they eat on lettuce plates with their hands. They don't bite into anything that's crunchy, anything that can make a noise. Everything is based on silence, and that makes it a very, very intense experience watching this, because you find yourself trying to be as silent as they are in the theater. I remember pulling up my soda and taking a drink, and I was going to put it back into the cup holder, and I was like gently trying to put it in there. I'm like, and I did that several times. I'm like, I had to remind myself I'm not in this situation, but the movie is so crazy. It makes you actually think you had to be quiet. I remember even leaving the theater, I found myself being very gentle with things for a couple hours until I had to remind myself, you're not in the damn movie. You know, this is just a movie. But that human quality, you just get drug into the story with them, and it works. And to bring in a potential giving birth scene, how do you be quiet knowing that any noise attracts these creatures, and these creatures, when they attack, and it almost makes you feel like they're not attacking to kill. They're attacking to get rid of the noise that's making the noise, because it whatever the noises they hear, when they attack, they don't eat the person. They don't, for as far as we know, there are attacks in this film where someone gets hurt and they're just left there. They don't eat them, nothing. They just want to get rid of the sound. Whatever the cause of the sound, these creatures want to get rid of it. So you start thinking, oh my God, she's going to have a baby. How are you going to get through birth without screaming? And even if you do make it, how are you going to keep a newborn baby from crying? And not to give away too much, I like spoiler reviews, but I don't like to give away too much. How they deal with the baby issue is one of the biggest, complex, most interesting things about this movie that had me literally just on the edge of my seat, gripping anything I could to hold on watching this thing, because it got to the point in some spots in this movie where you are just like, how the fuck are they going to get out of this situation alive? Is it even possible? And again, the tragedy aspect of it, the human drama aspect of it, plays out through the entire film, all the way up into the end credits. You are on a ride from the time this movie starts to the time it ends. You do not get a break. You are on pins and needles the entire movie. It works great. John Krasinski directed the hell out of this film. The cinematography is great. This movie does have a score. It's great. It works perfectly. The sound design in this movie works perfectly. When there's time for them to deliver dialogue, you know, they do sign language, but you can also see that even though they're doing sign language, they're still slightly whispering, which made it even better, because you didn't really have to read the subtitles in some of the scenes, because you could kind of hear them whispering it out of their mouths. Even though they're doing the sign language, they still wanted to hear each other speak. It was such a nice little detail. It's a very unique concept and is played off perfectly. I highly recommend this movie. I give it a big 2 thumbs up. Go experience this in the theater. See you guys on the next movie night. Take care.